Hello all, Alison here, and welcome back to Words and Pictures for another few minutes of fun. I really have no idea where this one is going to go. I think we'll probably just be doing some background layers today, because that's all I've got time for. A while back we did our leaf cutting video, if you remember. If not, take a look in the links in the description down below. And I slipped one of these leftover cutting pieces of paper into the altered book journal that I have on the go. We have done a flip through of what's in here so far, so again, take a look in the description below for the link for that if you haven't seen it. And yeah, I thought I'd follow through on that idea. I've ripped it in half. It was like so, but I decided I didn't want one whole page and one whole page, so yeah, I ripped down the middle ish, not entirely the middle, and I think I'm gonna offset it something like that. And yeah, the leaves really become sort of almost, it's just texture now in lots of ways. There's occasional leaves you go, oh, I can really tell that's a leaf, but otherwise it's just opening out into the space. So I'm definitely going to gesso some of this text to just let it fall into the background. I don't really want Terry Wogan's autobiography as the main focus of this page. And then I also thought I might have a play with some of these bits of tissue. This is the Tim Holtz Halloween collage paper from this year, and there are, I mean, Halloween, they're bugs and text, lots of them. Don't need to be specifically Halloween at all, but I'm thinking of ripping a bit of that up and layering it over the text, and you can see, you still get to see text underneath, even after I've gessoed it, hopefully. It's a grim old day out there today, very, very foggy, so I've got some artificial light helping me out. I'm hoping that won't be too much of an annoyance in terms of shadows on the page. But as you can see, I'm starting with a rough coat of gesso. This is the golden gesso. Any gesso you've got will do. Gesso is a background layer. It's used for preparing canvases to receive paint, so that all your paint doesn't soak into the canvas. Same thing applies for papers. Any mediums you use over the top of this are going to sit and play differently. You'll probably get a little bit more movement time before paints or inks dry. It's a preparatory layer, but it's also just a really great medium to use in mixed media. You can soften things, you can, as you see, knock things into the background, and it just gives you a really good, easy way to kick yourself off and feel like you've started something. Blank page needn't be a worry. Let's just sling some gesso on it and I've started, and then I don't need to be thinking too hard. You can see these pages are torn, so there's really quite a nice ripped edge down there, which we might highlight later on in the process with some inking, because I like the texture even of that ripped edge there. Yeah, I think that's got rid of enough Terry Wogan for now. Anybody who grew up in the UK in the 80s will know who Terry Wogan is. In fact, you didn't need to be growing up, you could be an adult as well. I could just use the gesso even probably to stick down these bugs, but I think I'm going to give them a little bit of extra help. I think I'll go for a bit of a diagonal so that I can keep most of that large bug whole. So there's just a sort of echo of bugs on this side, maybe. Something like that, something like that. Let's see where our leaves were going to be. And I sort of want it, what's the other half of my leaves? There they are. I sort of want some bugs coming through leaves, but not all of them. I'm quite enjoying that. Very often in these journal pages, I work with opposing collage areas, so sort of external, and have quite a lot of white space in the centre. So this is a new departure for me, to work from the central spine, but I quite like that those straight lines of the leaves are in that central spine. That's giving me a different look from usual, and things spreading out from the center there. So yeah, I'm gonna stick that down before I spend too much time thinking about it. I've got some Distress Collage medium here, which is a great glue for paper to paper. This is in fact the crazing version, which is not going to make much difference. It's going to glue things down and not much of it is going to be visible, but it does have a sort of vague crackly sort of texture underneath it. I'm going to go over the top of this collage paper too, partly because that helps it sink into the background. There's still some gesso on my brush, so that's also softening as it goes, but also because the surface of this is very slick. So again, it's going to not be very willing, maybe, to play nicely with inks. We're giving it a bit of a coat of medium, and in a minute I think I'm going to put some gesso over it as well. Because again, I just want to soften the black outlines of these bugs. I don't want them quite so prominent. I want them... And again, I'm going for that sort of lining up with that central spine, just because it's interesting to me to go with a completely different compositional structure from my habitual one. It's a good way to just do things a bit differently from usual. So here's the gesso again, and I just want a little bit of that, so you can see immediately how that means those black outlines become a softer grey. You would have to put quite a lot of coats of gesso to cover them up completely, so I'm not worried about losing them. But I am just softening, blurring the edge between, blurring the distinction between the edge of the paper and where it just moves into the text, so that they sort of look as though they're emerging and crawling away. Yeah, that's just a really good base for a journaling page. It's got detail, it's got interest, but it's not too distracting. Got nice things going on. Always with the brushes, I've just got a water jar nearby, and I'm putting them straight in there for that. I'm quite happy with it exactly as it is, really, at the moment. So I'm thinking that one there, this one keeps getting caught in other bits. Do I want to go right to the bottom and right to the top? Let's have a look at that. Or do I want to cluster a little closer to the centre and have spaces at the top and bottom? That gives me quite dramatic, bold, straight lines there. Whereas this one means there's only one set of bold, straight lines. I think I quite like that. And I think I'm probably going to be softening these bold lines with some washi tape. I hope you can see the shimmer on this. One good thing about working in the artificial light is you can really see those spritzes and mica sprays gleaming. Yeah, I think it's probably that. And there's already some glue on the page, so that is already starting to stick down. Yeah, I don't think I want to stop and think too much. Again, I'm going to put this down and then I'm going to see where it takes me, rather than trying to pre-decide things that are going to happen. This one, I'm using my fine nozzle glue just so that I can be quite speedy about applying this. And I'm not going to mind if there are bits where the edges are peeling up, I think, because as you know, I love a bit of extra texture and dimension. So for the most part, I've got glue everywhere glue needs to be on there. What did I decide? Lining up with the top of the page. Let's do it. Lining up with the top of the page and lining up with the spine. Minimizing the number of straight lines that are going on. And allowing those organic leaf shapes. Yeah, so once it's flat to the page, actually, those leaves come back into the consciousness, don't they? They sort of say hello again, which is nice. You, I might get rid of because I like that bug. Yeah, simple as that. You, I might get rid of because you're just a little bit annoying to me. It's already a cut piece of paper, so I can just cut off more bits if they're not serving my purpose. So let's get a little bit on here. This is the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. Again, any acrylic glue you've got will do. You probably prefer something a little dry clear, just in case you get it in places you don't want it. But anything will do. So again, lining up with the center of the page. What I do need to make sure is that I'm allowing the book to close. Yes, it's fine. So those in there, might just nudge that out of the middle just a little bit so there's room for the other one. Press it in. Oh, I'm really quite enjoying that little leaf down there. And I'm enjoying that bug emerging out of there. Do I want to pull this away and allow that bug to be free? No, I think we'll stick with these strong horizontal lines. Again, it's different from what I'm used to have strong, really strong lines like that, although I have used very organic. There's a strong straight line. So photos quite often have strong straight lines. Yeah, we'll be fine. It'll all work out in the long run. I'm thinking that I want a little bit of late summer colour, maybe, in addition. So I've got peeled paint Distress Spritz here, and I think I'm just going to have a little flick of that onto the mostly onto the non-leafy parts, or maybe into those leaves. And then I'm going to see what happens. I don't want to do a full-on spray because I want to be in charge of where that spritz is going. I haven't got my map down, have I? I'm just kind of assuming things are going to be okay. I'm just going to soften that with a bit of water and allow it to spread out in a sort of shimmery green sort of way, just into the shadows of those leaves. And again, it'll have a nice subtle shimmer to it because the Distress Spritzes are beautifully shimmery. It's autumn sunlight we're catching now. Just a kind of sense of the sun through the trees. I've just been on a lovely walk the other day, not on a foggy day like this, where the leaves were glowing golden with the sunlight. I want a little bit more green. This is Twisted Citron, which is quite a full-on glow in the normal distress colour. I haven't tried the Spritz yet, so let's see what we get. It's a real acid yellow-green. Oh, that's very good. That's a proper leafy gold green. Perfect for the time of year. These I might leave as spatters because I quite like the idea of those dotted textures. That's good. And as you can see, I'm sort of accentuating this sense of things spreading out from the centre. Might give that a quick dry, just so that those little bits of detail, those little bits of inky detail get a chance to stay put. They will remain water reactive, so if I put lots of moisture over the top, they'll go on the move again. But if I'm fairly careful, I should find that I'm okay. Oh, hello. This is a heat tool that has been sitting around doing nothing for quite a long time. My old heat tool finally bit the dust last week, and so this one is maybe a bit dusty. I'll need to clean it out, making interesting noises, but hopefully it won't explode on me. That would make for a dramatic video. There's how to go viral. Exploding heat tools. There we go. Yes, quite enjoying that. So I'm thinking somewhere in here, it's something like maybe washi or design tape along these edges here. Just grabbing a couple of tapes to see what I think of that as an idea. A couple of Tim Holtz ones. Something that actually accentuates this horizontality. Let's have a look at that. And what I might do is my usual thing with these tapes is, rather than have them as a solid base, I'm going to just rip through the middle, and there we are. So having said I was going to intensify the horizontal, I've actually both intensified and softened it, so it's no longer a completely straight line. It's got a a raggedy edge to it. But that's got real drama now, spreading out from there. I like that a lot. We might add to that, maybe with some lace. I think I'm going to go and grab a couple more bits and pieces just to lay down on here and experiment with. The other option, of course, is to be adding some of these leaves as additional accents. Just sort of tumbling around. Maybe that. Not sure about that. I sort of like the leaves are not too leafy at the moment, and I'm enjoying those bugs as well. Right, going to grab a couple of bits to play with, and I'll be back in a sec. I've gathered a few collage bits and bobs to have a look at. I've got some of the Tim Holtz portraits, some Photobooth snapshots, the large size Photomatic. Got some mummy cloth, which is always great for adding texture and movement. I think that's most certainly going to be part of the mix. I've got these magical moths. I've got some metal buttons, some other metal bits and bobs. I've got some tickets. I don't really, as I said, I think I'm going to sort of stick to background, but that doesn't stop me having a vague plan for what I'll do next time I have a few minutes at the craft table. So I think what I'll do is share with you some of the initial stages of thinking, and then hopefully in the next video, or maybe the video after that, depending on when inspiration strikes again, we can come back and see how I allow that to mutate in the final stages of sticking things down and working out what the final elements are. So I do like that sort of softening things. That's doing good things. Let's have a look at this chap here. I don't think he's quite who I'm after today. He's quite good. He's got a sort of distant looking off into the future-ness about him. Look at the clarity of his eyes. So otherworldly. Yeah, it's not quite... Oh, hello, these two. Let's have a look. See, there's something quite good about the square lines of those, allowing the leaf outlines to work, where the random outline of the figure like that distracts a little bit. So again, it's that balancing of the straight line and the organic. Oh, hello. So I'm quite enjoying that, cutting across those lines, and his eye line and his eye line, that's leading us on a really lovely journey, kind of up and away. That maybe there's a moth going on. Maybe there's another moth going on that's related to him. Could be below him, could be above him. Really, it should be what he's looking at over here. That's where he's looking. Somewhere floating up here. That's going to be a bit difficult to attach. That's sort of looking like my favourite at the moment. I seem to have trimmed this guy and I haven't trimmed this guy. I quite like that outline though. I wonder if I've got anyone who will tell as good a story to me as he will, who's still got their outline on. Let's have a little look through these great photos. She's rather beautiful, but she's not relating to the other guy. That's not gonna quite do it. They've been trimmed as well. She's fabulous. She's looking directly at us and he's looking away. Not quite right. Not quite right. Now they're both looking... What is it they're looking at? See, that just makes me really curious. Well, what is it that's going on over here? The future. That would be the past. That's the direction you read in a book. That's the future. That's a possibility. Because I am quite enjoying the lines still being around that. Although there's a directness about him. Maybe it's about trimming this one. These are the decisions I'm not going to make today, because I'm feeling just a smidge under the weather. Not ill. Just a bit not quite with it. I do love him. I do love him. That's background to the beginning. let's check through. It's always worth checking. If you've got, you know, photo packs or you're working with family photos, it's always worth persevering right to the bottom of the pile. Because sometimes it is that photo at the bottom of the pile that is the one that says, yes, it's me. He's a bit grim compared to the hope of this one, and I love the sort of positivity of these two. Obviously, in a minute, I'm going to try them in reverse positions because that might do something different. Smile and smile. No, I am starting to enjoy this. Look, she's probably my favourite snapshot of all time. Just wonderful, joyous look. So they sort of have more in common with him in terms of the look of the photo. This is a much softer focus. He's really, you can see every wrinkle on him. It's one of the things I love about him, is he's really, you can see the lines of lived experience on him. Right, I think we're down to sort of elimination. It's either you and you, or it's you and you. Slightly odd that both looking that way. I think we might be coming back round. Yeah, I'm going to have to let this sit, maybe even for a couple of days, in order to work out which of those it is I want. I know I've eliminated these guys, so that's a step forward. I definitely want, I think, some metal going on. I'm fairly keen on these moths, although I haven't quite settled exactly how they're going to relate to people yet. Got these great little metal buttons that were very cheap in some craft sale somewhere, sometime, somehow. That's got a nice little metallic extra to add. And obviously, if he's got one, she needs to have one, or he needs to have one, depending who gets the starring role in the end. I'm going to just pop him there so he doesn't get forgotten about. So there's going to be something like that and something like that. Just pop that down like so I can see what it does. Yeah, so it's going to be about finding the right words now. And it might be pulling them off one of my stamp sets. It's going to be about finding the words that give us that sense of uplift, of looking towards the future. This is a book full of tickets, and I just thought they had quite nice autumnal colours about them. So I might just take a look at how that adds to... It's going to be just a nice little extra collage element. And there are almost certainly, as always, going to be some of the tiny Curator labels and Snippet labels in the long run. But I think for today, I've made my way about as far as I'm going to get. And so I'm going to let this page sit for a while. And there's no shame in that, there's no harm in that. It's part of the creative process to let things percolate, let things marinate, let those stories start to bubble. There's something going on that I want to accentuate here. I don't know quite how yet. And there's the journey of finding the words. So all of that will be coming up in another episode of A Few Minutes of Fun very soon. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing those leafy backgrounds going into play and just seeing how, even if you've only got a few minutes, just get something started, get a few ideas bubbling, get some backgrounds down, and then you'll have something a springboard to leap off from the next time you have some time at the craft table. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crafting all.